What? Cuba claims Prime Minister of Canada Justin Trudeau is Fidel Castro's son. The suicide note left by Fidel Castro's eldest son has rocked the Cuban nation this week, with the most astonishing revelation being the claim that Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was his half-brother and the son of the late Fidel Castro of Cuba. The handwritten note left by Fidel Castro Diaz-Balart, 68 years old, the eldest of Fidel Castro's many children, appears to confirm the long-standing rumor in Cuba that Fidel Castro fathered Justin Trudeau after a public tryst with Margaret Trudeau in 1970. Quote, Castro Diaz-Balart, who had been attended by a group of doctors for several months due to a state of profound depression, committed suicide this morning, unquote, Cuba Debate website reported. The death of the high-profile government nuclear scientist, also known as Fidelito or Little Fidel, because of how much he looked like his father, stunned the nation. However, it is his explosive suicide note that has set tongues wagging in Havana. Amid a wide-ranging barrage of complaints, the note suggests Fidelito, Little Fidel, was angry with his late father, the revolutionary Cuban dictator. Fidelito wrote that his father, Fidel Castro, was, quote, always comparing me unfavorably with Justin, unquote, and, quote, dismissing my achievements in comparison to his success in Canada, unquote. Now let's just reiterate the fact that Castro Diaz-Balart was a nuclear scientist, high-profile government nuclear scientist, and that still did not make him worthy in Fidel Castro's eyes. And he goes on to say, quote, but what was I to do? I am a Cuban. My brother is Canadian. If he was born and raised in Cuba, he would have lived in our father's shadow forever, just like me, end quote. While Justin Trudeau is famously known as the son of Canada's Liberal former Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau, he was the Prime Minister of Canada when I lived in Canada. We left in 1970. He was the Prime Minister at that time. Excellent because of the fact that he was totally bilingual in French and English. Okay, so he was the Prime Minister when I lived there. And then, of course, after that, we moved to the United States. So, Justin Trudeau, famously known as the son of Canada's Liberal former Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau. Comparison image of Pierre, Justin, and Fidel suggests there may be something to the Cuban claims. Now hold on to your seats because you've got to see this. A picture is worth 1,000 words. Look at this. Their eyebrows are the same, their nose, their cheekbones are the same, their mouth is the same. Of course, Fidel has a beard. We don't know about the chin. But the cranial, the facial features of Justin Trudeau are very similar to Fidel Castro. Nothing looking like Pierre Trudeau. Here we have Fidel Castro on the far left and the far right. You can see the wavy curly hair Fidel Castro has is the same, of course, DNA in the hair of Justin Trudeau. And again, you see the similarities of the cheekbones, the forehead, the eyebrows, the nose, and here we finally see the chin, but the chin, Fidel Castro's chin is much more smaller than, okay, now here we have Justin Trudeau in the middle, very Hispanic looking, and Fidel Castro on the far right, looking just like Trudeau. Justin Trudeau in the middle. Nothing like Pierre Trudeau on the far left. Justin Trudeau has a much better complexion than Pierre Trudeau. Pierre Trudeau's complexion was very potty everywhere, as if he had a very bad acne problem when he was young. Okay, here we have Pierre Trudeau on the far left, and we have Justin in the middle, and a young Fidel Castro smiling, who looks just like Justin Trudeau. So, you tell me what you think. Even the smile, the expression of the smile that Justin Trudeau has is just the same as Fidel Castro's. And upcoming now is another picture of Margaret Trudeau, here with Fidel Castro in Havana, Cuba, 9 months before Justin was born. They seem to have a lot of familiarity between themselves. She's got herself all over him. Now, strong physical resemblance aside, the Cuban rumors are also backed by historical fact. While Justin Trudeau's birthplace of Ottawa, Canada may be a long way from Havana, his mother, Margaret Trudeau, visited Cuba 9 months before Justin was born, and there are photographs of her socializing with Fidel Castro. The picture of her on the far left, Castro in the middle, and Pierre Trudeau on the right. According to Canadian newspaper The Globe and Mail, Pierre Trudeau and his wife Margaret traveled to Havana and became close friends with the Cuban president Fidel Castro. Quote, Pierre Trudeau's and Fidel Castro's path crossed for the first time in 1970, end quote. The Globe reports, before explaining the Trudeaus had such a great time on the Caribbean island that, quote, an endearing friendship between the arch-liberal Pierre Trudeau and the Marxist revolutionary Fidel Castro, end quote, was forged. Now, what happened in Havana in 1970, 9 months before Justin Trudeau was born? Well, you better hold on to your seats even tighter now. Margaret Trudeau also returned to Cuba shortly after Justin was born. A little toddler. Look at this. He couldn't have been more than, 10 months old, 8 months old at that time, 7 months old? And she's lugging him all the way from Ottawa to Cuba shortly after he was born. Before shocking Canada by marrying the sitting Prime Minister of Canada, Margaret was famous in the 1970s for risque behavior. Known as a poster girl for the Flower Child movement in the early 1970s, she embraced the sexual revolution and scorned traditional marriage vows as archaic, destroying an artwork that hung on Pierre's wall because it celebrated reason over passion. And we all know, of course, that Fidel Castro had the same philosophy of life. He had a lot of lovers. He was a ladies' man. So, a self-confessed drug addict, Margaret smuggled drugs in her husband's luggage while traveling and made scantily clad appearances at Studio 54. Her nude photographs are still widely published on the internet. Margaret Trudeau has form when it comes to sex scandals with powerful and high-profile men. Describing a 1974 affair with Ted Kennedy, Margaret Trudeau wrote in her memoir about the moment she met the U.S. Senator at a state dinner in New York. Quote, that evening I felt such a pull towards him that we could not even stand within a couple of meters of one another. Pierre was not amused, end quote. Was Pierre Trudeau, that is the Prime Minister of Canada, having flashbacks to what happened in Havana 4 years before? Margaret then moved on to the Rolling Stones guitarist Ronnie Wood, and then Mick Jagger, eloping to New York with the Stones frontman in 1977. The Mirror writes, Premier's wife in Stones scandal. The First Lady who got turned on by the Stones. Where is Margaret Trudeau rocking tonight? Stones in a mystery. A Stones romance, you must be joking. The Stones and I by Mrs. Trudeau. Margaret Trudeau with the Rolling Stones and the shocked British tabloids' reaction to the scandal. The scandal signaled the end of her tumultuous marriage to Pierre Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada. The Liberal politician fought her in the courts, won sole custody of the children, and refused to pay any spousal support. Did Pierre Trudeau raise Fidel Castro's son? Justin Trudeau's parentage has not been seriously questioned in Canada. However, the startling new information that has come to light in Cuba may change all that. Now, we have to take into account that this is in the suicide note of a dying man who for some reason thought his life could no longer go on, and he committed suicide. This is very, very serious information. He was obviously living under the shadow of his deceased father, Fidel Castro, and also under the shadow of the Prime Minister of Canada, a very successful politician in the Western world, who he knew to be his half-brother, Justin Trudeau. And we'll keep updating you the next time we have more information on this. This is huge news. And as you can see, a picture says 1,000 words. Amazing. This is on Your Newswire by Baxter Dimitri.